12th, 2024, webinar that we do every week called Stopping the Violence in America. It originally started off with dealing with gun violence. Then we realized that gun violence also has a root to it, because my favorite saying is that a gun is an inanimate object. It takes someone to pick it up and to extend or cause harm to another person. What are the root causes that will prompt a person to pick up a gun and shoot another person? I mean, we have different categories of why. Sometimes it's justifiable because it's for protection, but other times it has other root causes that stems within the individual, because it stems with the individual and his environment. It stems with the individual, some mental problems or whatever. And this seminar or webinar has allowed us to discover the different categories of why people will cause harm to another person, and thus it becomes a violent act, and it becomes a part of crime that is, executed within our greater society, our communities, and our homes. So today we have a special guest, a brother of mine, a good friend of mine, and he's dealing or sharing with in regards to what we call the Crime Stoppers. And after a conversation with him and what he's doing in reference to Crime Stoppers organization, a program, we realize that their avenue is the road taken to involve all sectors of community in order to stop violence. He's a good friend, a brother, and he's a passionate person. Very passionate and very direct. He's a lay pastor. His name is Pastor Bruce Williams. He's originally from Indiana with American Clergy Leadership Conference, which is ACLC. Just a quick bio from my brother Bruce Smith. Pastor Smith was born July 11th, 1957. And I'm not going to tell you, I got two over you, and is celebrating his 67th birthday. You're looking great, brother. By talking to everyone here, let's wish him that's right, a happy birthday. Hey, that's right. Today is the 12th. Yeah. Was his birthday. Welcome to the over the 65 line, okay? It is true, I've known Bruce for quite some time, and he's always had a public mind, which is you can say so much more about that, from teaching at our seminars and our family values. He's taught here in Washington, D.C. He's always concerned about the young people and teaching young people what you call free teams. Free teams is really a program in Milwaukee, but in a program that really stresses abstinence to our young people, which is the imperative teaching that is needed. He always proud to say that he is a high school graduate working on his PhD in pure heart degree. I'd like to repeat that. He is a high school graduate working on his PhD on his pure heart degree. Bruce started playing drums when he was in third grade, and his love for music continues until this day. Today, he's going to introduce you to one of his songs that he is hopefully going to use for the Crime Stopper International, and will like you to participate in understanding the Crime Stopper program, in which we would love to hear more details about that and his role in trying to make it better. We all want to live in a safer community, which is true. This is why we have this program. And we want to have the community become the best place that can be for us and for our future generations. Brother Bruce, Pastor Bruce, welcome to our platform. The platform is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if I can, and I'll try to find the best place to start, which is, I guess, the overview of the program itself. If you're having any difficulty seeing, please let me know, because you know how technology goes. It can work sometimes for you and sometimes it can't. And I'm just wondering if you can see the screen as we're looking at it now.
I think we can see.
Can you see the word tips on it? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, well, let me give you a brief overview of what TIPS is. It's a program that I came up with in 1983, playing drums in New York City, crime-ridden. I wanted to find a good way in which to promote the then new TIPS program. And I wrote a song called Easier Said Than Done. And the overall program is this. You enhance the collaboration between the Crime Stoppers program, I'll detail it in a moment, and community. And it's a crime prevention tool because we're asking people to participate, and it doesn't cost anything unless you want to donate, obviously, but it's helping all aspects of the Crime Stoppers program. So the return on investment is designed for people to see that you can help the community. If you see something, say something. Pretty simple. Here in Indianapolis, I partnered with Big Beats Franklin. He's a music producer, and that's his website here. And he and I listened to my 1983 recording, which I'll play for you in a second. And he said, well, you know, I met him in 2016 after I moved here from Milwaukee. And he said, well, why don't you upgrade it a little bit? So I said, well, I like the beat, you know, I like the music. He said, well, let's hear it. So I'll let you guys hear it and you judge for yourself. Easier said than done. This is the original tune that I wrote in 1983. And let me know if you can hear it properly. Are you able to hear that?
Brought to you by the New York Police Department, New York Partnership, and Eyewitness
The
News.
vocal could be a little more pronounced.
Help the community become a better place to live.
This is a demo that was written in 1983, and the lyric is just this. He's just a cop on his beat. He's been taking a lot of heat, and even though he's got a gun, his job is easier said than done. In an open society, guns shouldn't be so free. He's got his back against the wall. Is it the gun that makes the criminal? And law and order has disappeared. What we have now is not clear. I wish that crime would go away. Everybody says that. But that's easy for me to say because it's easier. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. That's my voice. I'm sorry. That's the way I sing. Even though he's got a gun, right? Talking about a cop. It's easier said than done. Those people in law enforcement have it tough. If you're part of the problem, you're against the solution. Okay? So that was 1983. So when my good friend heard it, he said, wait, let's change it up a little bit. So this is what we came up with. same beat, different tune, different time in history. 2016. Now this is designed more for urban, right? All right. So fast forward to 2023. Again, last year we said, well, let's try to change it up a little bit. And that's what we did. Each style is different. It all contains the same groove. And the point is to have it be accompanying the tips program that exists in all the cities, almost 1,000 cities throughout the world.
So like the theme
bit more
song of the
modern.
TIPS program.
What's that? Somebody said something?
I said kind of like the theme song of the TIPS.
Yes, exactly. When you go to any type of program, or if you're watching television, you go to any store, you automatically connect with the jingle, whatever it is that they're using, and that's the concept of this. We want to promote this TIPS/Crime Stoppers program through using music. And the idea is that Big Beats would produce these charity songs, and we create 10, 30, and 60-second spots to work with the existing Crime Stoppers programs. And how it works is we combine the community activity with the media and then teach and educate through the law enforcement. Crime Stoppers is a 501c3, so if we were to begin the process of helping move this forward, it would go just into the whole realm of promotion for the Crime Stoppers program. So let me introduce you to Crime Stoppers in case you don't know anything about it. Crime Stoppers International, of course, is global, and its mission is to advance and support an effective crime-solving, crime reduction, and crime prevention organization throughout the world, working in partnership with community, media, and law enforcement. And of course, their vision is just to help stop and solve crime globally. So when you say globally, that encompasses everything, including the United States. What is Crime Stoppers? Who is Crime Stoppers? How does Crime Stoppers work? And where are Crime Stoppers? Let's look into it. Crime Stoppers is based on the principle that someone other than a criminal has information that can solve a crime that was created, and to combat three major problems faced by law enforcement in generating information. Number one, fear of reprisal. Number two, an attitude of apathy. And number three, a reluctance to get involved. Those seem to be the barriers in which people see the crime, but they're not willing to do this because of those three. Crime Stoppers solves this by doing this. We offer an anonymity. No one has to know who you are to people who provide information. And we pay rewards when information is supplied that leads to arrests. It's a global issue, so Crime Stoppers is in partnership with the community, the media, and law enforcement. At the time I put this stat together, there were 1,058 programs in the United States. And then globally, there was 1,195. Now here in Indianapolis, our Crime Stoppers is the Crime Stoppers of Central Indiana. And I had invited Mr. Rosenberg, Dan Rosenberg, to attend this meeting. I don't know if he's on or not. I didn't check chat rooms yet. But we have a program that is pretty active. And if you see something, say something. That's pretty much it. The Crime Stoppers USA, a national training conference is going to be held here in Indianapolis next year. So I'm hoping that I can become part of that education with that theme song. So currently, this was off their website. There were 1 million arrests, 1 million cleared, 1,600,000 cleared. So rewards paid out were 137,000, and property that was returned and recovered was there's a number right there. And drugs seized and the total recovered is that much. 11. It's a lot of money globally. So Crime Stoppers USA is the components work like this. There's 3 different components and they work synergistically. Community, media, and law enforcement all working together. Someone sees something, the local media reports on it, and then the law enforcement uses those tips in order to solve that crime. So let's look at the community, because that's the part that I'm more concerned with and what I want to get involved with and how I want to help the Crime Stoppers program. And that's what I'm hoping I can get everybody who's on here to look into this as a way in which they can help their local community as well as solve the problems globally. Citizens are responsible for forming a Crime Stoppers nonprofit corporation. So if there's a one already in your state or your city or your county, depending on where you live, work with those people. And the director, they help establish policies on how they're going to implement. And my goal is to work through all those directors to find the best way in which we can get this coon easily disseminated throughout all of the programs. You determine how much money is going to be paid out and the method of how they're going to be paid, whether it's a gift card or whatever. And you work closely with law enforcement and the media to oversee the entire program. This is the director's role. He's in charge of fundraising, etc. You may want to implement in your city or your county a program because you have a lot of crime. The program is supported by public tax deductible donations. And the way in which you go about getting that is asking businesses, and I have an idea at the end. I'll show you how and where the connective tissue is for that. The media. Crime Stoppers is publicized on a regular basis by all media outlets, including print, broadcast, and web-based partners. Now, this is where the whole tips song, easier said than done theme comes in. Special attention is given to unsolved crimes of the week, cold cases, narcotics activities, wanted fugitives, and terrorists and gangs. The newest wave of crime that is implementing or raising its head in our society is connected to human trafficking. And human trafficking, all of the victims are repeated over and over and over and over again. The victims don't have a voice because they're in captivity, but their victimhood stays with them for life. And gangs and terrorists are involved in that because they sell drugs, but they also sell guns and weaponry. And now they're moving into this latest territory, which is the third largest. It's guns are first, narcotics second, and then human trafficking third, as far as the business model is concerned for criminals. So in the law enforcement, they're the ones who receive and process the tips, and they work to solve the crimes. And after those arrests are made, they work to get the anonymous caller their money. So if you have information about a crime, you'll call, and that's the reason why I did tips. Tips is TIPS or 8477. And no matter what number you're calling, 80% of all of the tips programs are the number is 8477. So they end that way. So it's easy to remember. TIPS 8477. It's taken confidentially and you're given a code, and only you have that code. And because you're the only one that has the code, you're the only one that will be able to receive any monies that were I guess, found to be credible, your information, and the rest was good. And then after all that's solved, then that's when you get your money. And it can lead to a number of arrests. It can be also, just as criminals don't usually work isolated. So it could be you see one thing and you're able to do more and more just based off of that tip. And that's exactly how crime gets solved. And the ability to remain anonymous is the most important thing. And that's why, some people just want to get the money to get involved, but other people are really serious about just making our community a better place to live. So the awards are determined by Crime Stoppers, and we try to do it as Crime Stoppers. And again, if Dan is on, he can give more detail about that, on how it works. So here's the proposal for our
Bruce?
public service announcer. Yes?
I am on, sir. If you need me or
Okay,
you
good.
want me to cross check any of that for you, I am here.
Oh, Dan, great, thanks. I like I say, I didn't know if you're on. I didn't look at the chat part. How am I doing so far? Okay?
Yeah, I think you're doing fine. I would just say the one big thing that I would kind of harp on that isn't in your slide is that
Okay.
when you break out into that pie graph that says community, media, and then law
Uh-huh.
enforcement, that
Uh-huh.
actually the law enforcement component should be two different pieces of pie.
Well,
So
I'm gonna let you slice up that pie. Okay? You can
you want me to
dissect that
explain that
pie.
or no?
It's up to you. If you feel
Okay, I
comfortable
can.
now, that's fine.
Okay, so under the United States Constitution, everyone has the right to face their accuser.
Okay.
So an important part about that is that Crime Stoppers is collecting what's called anonymous information. So any kind of information that goes to law enforcement needs to be verified.
Yeah.
In other words, I always describe it as we take police officers' heads and we turn them. What they see is really what's important. But what we do is we provide information that makes them turn the head. No information that we gather can be a part of a probable cause or a search warrant, for example, because
Okay.
it's anonymous.
Yes.
So
Gotcha.
I am a sergeant with IMPD. In
Yep.
my office are two IMPD merit sworn officers and a civilian that are all paid for by IMPD. So you would say, well, how is Crime Stoppers then not a part of law enforcement? And what I would tell you is that when I work here, the department gives me as a donation to the nonprofit in lieu of monetary gain. And why that's important is that the courts, when they see me, they don't see me as Sergeant Rosenberg. They see me as Director Rosenberg, the employee. So when I'm working here, or any of the officers are working here, that sworn part that they've been sworn to do that has different rules within our society is actually put to the side, and they are an employee of the nonprofit. The reason that we do it that way is because we have a certain amount of professionalism when it comes to what is going on with crime and how it needs to be investigated. So when we get these tips, we make sure that there's no way that law enforcement can trace it back to the tipster themselves. We've been in business since the mid 80s, much like your jingle. And we've never once outed a tipster. In fact,
you go.
we go to the length of sending everything over an IP line, and our servers are in Canada. So if you want to figure out where somebody called from, what the number is, or you want to figure out what the IP address is from somebody who put something, a tip, you have to go ask the FBI to do an international search warrant of our servers. That then the FBI has to go to a Canadian court and ask a Canadian court to search those servers.
Right.
Canada has they don't have that pesky US Constitution thing going on up there. So they have very strict rules around what's anonymous and what's not.
There you go.
So as I'm talking to you here today, I am actually not within the law enforcement pie. I am within the nonprofit Crime Stoppers part of the pie, but because my relationships are strong with all of Central Indiana and the 65 different law enforcement agencies that I work with, I can then make sure that particular information gets to the right investigative group. So that's how I would describe that additional piece of pie is we are the nonprofit. And then if you ever want to learn about how we pay out tips, I'll tell you how we do it. But every different Crime Stoppers program is different. And
everyone is different. They make their own rules within the policy. The director oversees that nonprofit group, etc. Yeah, that's.
Yep. And a civilian board overlooks me.
Yeah,
so I have a president.
Exactly. Yeah.
The people who actually make the rules, so the policies and the program rules are voted on and held by a civilian group that has nothing to do with me. So the rules that I have to abide by are not actually police rules. And no one who has any law enforcement background has been a part of making those rules. And that also is very important with the courts, because the courts want to accept Crime Stoppers as a separate entity, not as a law enforcement entity. There you go. There's my speech.
Gotcha. Well,
If anybody has any other questions, please ask.
Yeah, so Bruce, if
Yes,
you can
sir.
continue.
Okay, I
and-
certainly shall.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Then let me,
Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad you're on, because I want to make this as seamless as possible, and the details that you have are much better than I can provide on that side. I'm on the music side. So Big Beats, we will create these what you would call jingles, 10, 30, 60 seconds, tie in with the media. And the process goes like this. It's a pretty simple process, but it's time consuming. And what I did was I looked at these are old maps, obviously, Dan. You probably have better maps than I do from here. And these are the different regions. So you may see your state in one of those colored regions, whether it be Connecticut or Georgia or wherever you are. We'll get a better slide next time. But here's the process pretty much. And I'll pull up each section of how it would work. But basically, out of the 14 regions, again, this was 2012 where I grabbed that information from, just put it and stored it away. The timeline is pretty simple. And it takes hours to look at all the different Crime Stoppers programs that are out there. And then the step 2 would be contacting each individual Crime Stopper director and the program director. You identify them by their telephone number. Again, it's going to probably end in 8477, and then there'll be a local number, etc. And then based off of that, you get their region and their metropolitan area, if it's in metro, or if it's in a rural area, a county, and you then identify all the media that are attached to those programs. This may be a new program. They may not have any media. They may be searching to develop. And this is one way that you can do that. And then the second, the last piece is the actual market itself. How big is it? What do you have to do in order to get that 10-second spot on that air? Because it's so, money driven. It's not community based, it's profit based. And what they say is, well, crime is happening, but we just report it and we don't want to talk about it too much because we got to sell stuff. That's the media mind. At the same time, we're on a different side. We're trying to help people. The third step would be just getting the feedback. Once they say no, then you go on to the next program. And if they say yes, that's when we begin the process of recording. And again, my brother Beats, He has his own studio. He said he's willing to do it. Unfortunately, he couldn't be on today. He's actually filming a music video today. And then after that, he has some work with his realtor for his home. So I said, because it was all kind of, last minute on my birthday, oh, great present. So then the fourth step is get the radio and the TV or the marketing, whatever it is, get them to say, this is brought to you by the local police department, the local media, and the community. And then whatever it is, whatever town, whatever 8477 number you're using on top of that bumper music. And then you go on to record it and then get feedback. On the bottom, you see that it takes hours, then you're going to take weeks, and it could take days or weeks to get through. It's a process. It's not an instantaneous thing. It's a process. And Dan, just pulling all the people together to get them agree on one thing, it's not so easy. So ID, if they say yes, great. If they say no, go to the next program. If they say yes, go ahead and record everything, get it all down, get that buy-in. Okay. Now, the biggest problem, not problem, I say it's a happy solution, is when everybody's coming together and you have a brainstorming session with the director. And you may meet at different times, bi-weekly, weekly. I don't know what, Dan, I don't know how often you meet with your program people, but it's all centered around this. You have to have the complete package of the synergy between the community, the media, and law enforcement. And then all those people come together, and that's when we begin to say, okay, how can we use that song? Let's say you're living in a rural area. You may want to have a country feel to that music rather than the urban setting. Again, you may want to have that urban sophistication sound, or you may want to have something else, or a local celebrity buys in and decides that they want to record it. And again, because it's international, move from the United States to Spain, Italy, France, all different languages. Canada, some speak French and some don't. You have all these different countries that would benefit from just hearing the same repetitive song. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 da, da, da. They remember it, and that's what you want. So for the youth, again, I was going to go into it's already a half hour so far. I don't know how much time I have, but the youth component is a little bit, how can I say, more detailed, in that we're dealing not just with the media and police, but we're going into schools. And I'm going to show you the connective tissue of the schools and how it works. Capturing local school, you probably can't see all that, but I'm going to break this all down to you and how it works. How within the school you have an interactive approach to all of these things. Here they go. You have a school relationship with local organizations. Most parents have their children in a school, and that school is where they can learn about all the Crime Stoppers programs. And I have a unique one that I want to deal with. I call it TIPS, Trafficking in Persons. And this is dealing with the newest phase of Crime Stoppers efforts going after human trafficking. Go from middle all the way up, because it's got to be age appropriate. And you're always involved with different community-based organizations. This is a funnel for your outreach when you get ready to go after funding for those programs. Businesses, we know banks and media, they're involved. The police is involved. Everybody that's on, or a lot of people on this call, are religious. So they're dealing with their local religious organizations. You may have a program set up there just to tell in the church or in the mosque or in a synagogue or the Baha'i temple, Buddhist temple, about Crime Stoppers. And this is, again, your outreach, way to meet people. Of course, arts and culture, healthcare, and daycare centers with old people, elderly, people like me, uh, our senior citizens really need to work with this program because they're usually the eyes and ears of the neighborhood. They know what's going on. They know who's who, but they're again so frail that they don't want to get involved. They feel reluctant because of their age and abilities. Sorry about that. Um, and of course, just people who live here. And then schools resources are always available: computers, LCS meetings, after school tutoring programs. They'll always help you display the information about your program. And then community newsletters. They may want to help fund some T-shirts for Crime Stoppers. They may offer scholarships, of course, grant writing and publicity and literacy programs, transportation. You can go on. This is all a connective tissue, but the most important is the outcomes: crime prevention and school security. And these after-school programs, various levels of commitment are by each one of the programs, and we're encouraging a different one. And again, I don't have time. I won't take up your time with that. Everybody's busy, especially me, trying to get this thing into the schools would be very easy if we follow a process, and that's kind of what I wanted to do next. But that'll be on the next program. Public awareness, school-based catering, health, etc. So if you want to get in touch with me, there's my number. That's Bruce Smith, and I will be glad to take your emails. We are working on a website, which we're going to begin the process of capturing more data about organizations that would like to get involved with Crime Stoppers. And then hopefully by next year, we'll have enough new membership around the country that's listening to the jingle that when you know they come in and they hear the tips program, they hear about it, they learn about it, and they only remember one thing: that it's unique, it's different, and at the same time, it says what they want to say. You know, they hear it and they go, "Yeah, I think I remember what's going on." And some people like this one the best. I'm not sure. I just want to say thanks, everybody. And I'll turn it back over to Zachary.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bruce. That was a very excellent presentation. I'm going to hear back from Daniel Rosenberg as well. But what I like to say is that I think that this song is quite appropriate at this time. If you wrote that song in 1980s, I mean, you were stepping on the toes
Yeah.
for
Let me
the time
let me
of,
let me turn it off. Hold on. Let me find that. Just a second. I gotta shut it off a little bit here.
you got it?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
You know, the problem with these, I gotta figure out how I can lower everything. Let's see. You know, oh, the view. Here we go. Oh, that's not what I wanted. All right, just a second, Doc. There we go. How's that? A little better?
Yes. So I just want to say you're kind of before your time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not a little bit. Well, I'm talking referencing in conjunction with this whole notion of defunded police.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
actually,
Okay.
actually the words that lyrics are in conjunction and resonates with some of the law enforcement officers who has come and shared almost exactly those words, you know.
Well, that, yeah.
So I just want to thank you for coming. And another thing, I was sponsoring, not sponsoring, moderating the IAPD, International Association for Development and Interreligious Association for Peace and Development. And one of the analogies that the religious leader gave was the power of music to bridge and to help reconcile or be a subliminal base. And he gave this wonderful analogy of World War II, when they were fighting over, I can't remember, but fighting, the enemy planes were fighting, the two enemies who were fighting each other were listening to the same music, and that's the power of music. So again, it's the music that is for reconciliation, but music is a powerful tool for subliminal messages that helps people begin to do the right thing, because they have to get it in their minds that, maybe this is what we need to do, or it's okay to do it.
Yeah.
So music helps you to say it's okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank you.
That was the part of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that was part of the thing in New York City. When I was there, I loved the city. And at the time that I wrote this song back in '83, the crime rate was so high there that they were telling people don't go outside at night. And then the whole idea behind the tourists weren't coming to the city because it was so filled with crime. And so Crime Stoppers came in and they just didn't have the punch that they needed. And so you saw it maybe once or twice on Channel 7, and that was it. And I said, that's not enough. It's not enough. So that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for that. I want to kind of open up the floor now. I want to thank
please do.
Also Daniel and for coming on as well and giving that extra added explanation. But I think there is some synergy here. And I'm glad you're bringing it to the table. Everything I feel is planned in its appropriate time. And maybe this is the appropriate time. And you use the word rural, not rural, but the urban, the word urban. So, it's interesting. And I'm going to tell you, I'm here in DC. There's called Gallery Place, which is a central place that people come in Chinatown area. Now you come up the escalator from the escalator from the subway.
Yeah.
And it's a new area, it's built up, but there's still a lot of people hanging around that are maybe cause a little ruckus in ABC. So as you come up, it's inside, almost like it's outside, but there's a top piece. So, there's some shops and then you can go out to the street. It's a very central place. So this is where urban, rural, tourists, everybody meets. So it becomes, but you know what they decided to do? Because in that little cut right there that you come up, they decided to play classical music constantly. And I noticed that those kids who cause the ruckus do not go in there. They did that purposely. I said, wow, they're playing it. It's loud, classical music. So they knew that somehow music has its own power. And I think that's what you're saying. This little jingle that you have created has a power, and that can work maybe in conjunction with Crime Stopper. I want to thank Daniel Rosenberg for coming on. I want to open up the floor for other brothers and sisters who might have some questions or some statements to make. So the floor is basically open that you can address Pastor Bruce. John O'Connor, welcome. Can't hear you. If you can unmute.
Now you're ready. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for what a great presentation. So much involvement there, and there's so much component. And I hadn't thought about that program, but I heard about it different times over the course of years,
Yeah.
and I don't know how active it is here in the area, but that there is one fellow we had on here a number of months ago that has a program in school. It's called Dads in School. Maybe you're familiar with that, but they monitor hallways and try to keep the bullying down and the drug exchange, whatever, all kind of things going. I guess it's been quite successful from what I understand, but that's quite a wonderful kind of way in which to help with the problem of violence and kind of bullying, this kind of thing. I do have a question about the media. How well does that work, and do they make some kind of any kind of a commitment, and kind of an agreement with you and your relationship with them? And most of us know media is difficult to get along with and not so easy to support. Really traditional kind of things. So, wonder how's it go with that?
Well, I don't know if I'm muted or not.
I hear
If
you,
I
yeah.
am, okay. Dan probably would be the person that has more interactiveness with the media. From my perspective, I think coming in with something fresh and different and new, I could be wrong, Dan, you let me know, but something new and different that would approach this program, because they are driven by money. It's a business for them. And we as people who are asking them to help live for the sake of others may push them back a little bit, because we're taking up that 30 seconds or 10-second time that they can fill with an ad for X amount of dollars per cycle, where we're saying we want to be able to come in and basically try to help the community be a better place to live, and we're asking them for help. So the more attractive we are in doing that, I believe the more we can build those relationships with the media, so that the media itself will say, yes, you are doing something good. We want to be a part of what you're doing. Did I hit that on the head, Dan, or did I miss something? Still,
Sorry, I had
yeah,
to
there you go.
unmute myself there.
Oh, that's okay.
So the media is always complex, and relationships with Crime Stoppers is different in every different area. We've been lucky here in Indianapolis. We have news media that actually sits on our board.
There you go.
So we try and invite all the players in the community in to have a stake kind of in Crime Stoppers, because honestly, the biggest challenge in this program is letting people know that it's not law enforcement. The people understand Crime Stoppers really in the element of which it was created. It was created, at least locally here, as a jail snitch line. We didn't even do community. We just did it in the jails. And we put up our little poster in the jails, and we fed, we would put money on your books.
Wow. Okay.
And so that really tells you about the way that the world has changed. Now I get 30,000 contacts a year. 95% of those people mark a little box that says, I don't want any money. I'm not looking for money. I'm just, I need help in making my neighborhood safer.
That's correct.
So just getting the message out there that we're not the police. And that's really hard when indeed I am a sergeant with IMPD. But that's the big thing. The media itself, I always say I sell content because I'm giving them something that makes their product work.
Yeah.
So in reference to your jingle, it would be all about creating that attraction and giving them something that is content that will draw eyeballs.
There you go. Yep, I agree. I hope that answers your question, John.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Anybody else have any questions or any statements to make? I did see Pastor, he's gone. I do see Dr. Madeline. seen her a while. If she's wanted to some comments, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
How's everyone? Greetings,
Good.
greetings.
Greetings.
Bruce, that was an excellent presentation. I've heard of Crime Stoppers in Delaware, in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, which it was used a lot. And I heard the young men say that at one time they paid money. You know what I mean? And now the community is really taking responsibility and, you know, getting involved in the process, and the money is not the ideal thing. But what I didn't know was the different sections of the pie. So I
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that. It gave me a tad bit more wisdom about it than I had before. So I thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you for moving forward in this full concept with the Indiana Crime Stoppers. So I listened very attentively, because you know, Bruce, when I see you face to face, I'm going to have some other questions. I just don't want to take up all the time. But I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank
See
you.
you, Reverend Oliver.
That's good.
Anyone else, as we have a short time. So what I would like to do, if no one else has any else thing to say, I'd like to ask Dan if you have a last couple words that you would like to share. And then Bruce, I want you to have the last word.
Okay.
Dan, you go first.
Okay.
Okay.
So I tell this little story, and it explains why I think that the program itself has value. I worked in a very high crime area of Indianapolis for over a decade. I became a part of that community. I knew the mothers, the fathers, the aunties. I knew the kids who had problems. I knew the good kids. I knew everybody. I can tell you the one thing that when you are a police officer that will break your heart more than anything is holding somebody's hand and telling them that their loved one is gone.
Mm.
And you feel like, because you didn't stop it, you have some responsibility there. Whether that's fair or not, it doesn't matter. When you're invested in a community and you see the community hurt, you feel that way. It was a frustrating thing because I always felt like when I had troubled young men and I knew their whole family system, if I had just known they were going down to that house that day, if I had just known they were starting into that, I could have done something. You know, it didn't necessarily mean I had to arrest somebody, but I could have done something. I could have got in the middle of that and I could have stopped it. Now, like I said, whether that's fair or not is a whole nother thing, but the not knowing as a law enforcement officer is very frustrating. So I was doing things like policy and law. And when they brought me this program, I thought to myself, you know, there are people out there who need a vehicle. They need the ability to talk to somebody to try and help solve their problems. And maybe this is just one of those things that might help in saving a couple of lives. So that's where I see the value. It's not about the money to me, honestly. It's not about all of that. There's my street name is Buckethead, and it was given to me by a young man named Christopher. And I loved that kid, and I lost him. And it breaks my heart even to this day. But I'll always be known at 5-6 in Georgetown as Buckethead. And I am just as proud of that name as I am any name. So there you go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bruce,
Yes, yes. Well, Dan, it was good to meet you and listen to your Buckethead stories. But I think that you know all the time we have on Earth is precious. We never know when we can when we're asked to go, because we're not in control of that to a certain extent. And you try to live for the sake of others, making other people better, making your community better, making society better. I had a choice in my life. My mom wanted me to be a doctor, and then I wanted to be either a cop or a priest. And so I kind of somewhere in the middle, still not a doctor, but I'm somewhere in the middle between a cop and a priest. Priests deal with things that are before it happens, and police deal with things that are after it happens. And so my mind is always doing this and saying, how can we help prevent something? And that's really where I'm at. You know, my musical ability is not the greatest. I'm not the greatest drummer. I'm not the greatest musician, but I just use those talents for the sake of other people. And this song, when I wrote it, I had the New Yorkers in mind. My goal at the time was to write for Michael Jackson, give him this song when he was doing Beat It, same kind of sound. That was 83s. And so I was kind of like, okay, maybe. And then, everybody takes their own turn in life. So I immediately tried my best to keep it in the back burner, because I knew it didn't come from me. It was a higher source that gave me that inspiration for the song. And I've always wanted to have it used for the highest purpose. So hopefully at this time, we can all make efforts to work together in our local communities to get with the Crime Stoppers program, let people know what it really is about. It's unfortunate that the essence of it, or the inception of it here, was in the jails rather than in the communities. Because if the communities had known that it was good, they wouldn't have turned off, because all of those snitches is, they don't be a snitch kind of thing. Those people are out in the street saying things bad about Crime Stoppers. Don't be a snitch. Whereas the whole idea behind the program itself is to be able to have the community be involved with serving and living for the sake of others. So I hope we can, every community that's represented here from across the country can connect up with your local Crime Stoppers, find out who the director is, find out which media outlets, if you're already listening to TV or radio or what have you, and then begin the process of working with them to see what you can do to help the community become a better place, better and safer place to live. That's my last word. Thank you.
Yeah.
want to reiterate that I feel this is the appropriate time because of the whole notion of defunding the police.
Yeah.
And those words are words that kind of counters that and gives some credence to our law enforcement officers who are out there. So I'm really I want to thank you. I'm really proud of you for just having that insight way back then. And now it's even more appropriate. It was appropriate. It's more appropriate now because it's not only a New York problem, but it's a national problem. And
international.
International problem. But as we are saying here, what we say here is that if America can do it, then a bit greater influence on the international community.
That's right. Absolutely.
So we can heal here and show an example. Then the rest of the world community will follow.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to thank everyone. Daniel, you have to come back as a law enforcement officer and tell us your bucket, give us more insights and in depth of your Buckethead story. Because I know that there's some great insights there. So you have to come back not as only Crime Stopper, but you have to come back as a law enforcement officer and share with us as well. Everyone, thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for the answer. John O'Connor, it's good to see you, and always dear sister Dr. Madeline. As always, and everyone else, I want to thank you. God bless you, Bruce. Thank you. We made it. We made it happen, and in a short notice.
On my birthday. Happy birthday.
On your birthday. That's
Happy
why.
birthday.
Happy
June
birthday.
11th, not July 11th, June 11th. So yeah.
Well, happy belated birthday, but technically it's your birthday. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes,
Oh,
indeed.
thank
Father's Day.
you, Dr. Madeline.
Nice to see everybody.
Yes,
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Sorry about that, Ray McCready.
No worries. Thank you, Reverend Oliver. Thank you.
Oh, did you wanted to say something, Ray? I didn't know.
No. I was good. I just shared something in the chat. Even in little high-tech Seattle, there's issues right down in the central areas. So yeah, young man was shot, mortally wounded last Friday. Yeah.
I hate to hear those stories.
Yeah, but anyway, I got to look up Crime Stoppers. I don't know much about it. I know that I don't know. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you see the signs and everything, over the years, but you really didn't. This is the first time I've had in-depth understanding of what it really is and what it entails. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right, everyone. God bless you. You have a great
Great
program. Thank you.
God bless. If you see something, say something.
Say something.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah. It's your community. Take responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
Amen.
Sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yes, that's true.
God bless.
God bless everyone.
Take care. See you next week.
See you next week.